What's going on, everybody? Brian here for Work to Game, and today we're talking about Ganondorf, this powerhouse of a fighter, obviously from the Legend of Zelda series, wrapping up our heroes and villains from Legend of Zelda for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, without further ado, I do want to say thanks to Nintendo for providing Work to Game an additional copy of this game as well, so I really appreciate that. But without further ado, let's dive into his ups, downs, lefts, rights, smashes, specials, tilts, all the wonderful stuff that you need to know when playing Ganon the Demon game. So with Ganondorf, one thing you want to know is that he's actually a little bit more powerful in the air. If you're able to actually pull off this air version of the Warlock Punch, it is super powerful. The other version also is his air Warlock Foot. You can see it kind of slams me down, while if I was doing it here, it just throws me out to the side. So keep that in mind. Ganondorf has a lot more power actually in the air, which is really interesting from a grappling perspective, from just a straight up damage perspective. But let's go ahead and break down his normal, starting with his normal neutral. And then in this case, he's actually got a lot of range. So I'm going to just kind of go to 3 squares here. If I just do his normal neutral, you can see that it's got almost 2 squares worth of damage. Even though his fist is only at 1.5, there's a little burst that you can kind of see that will get you 2 squares. So if I move up to 2 squares, you can see I can kind of hit him here, put out 13.2% damage. If I try to do, you can't really combo off of it because it is going to knock them back. So it is kind of a one hit. Like some characters you can hold, or you can keep pressing to do kind of a little combo itself. But for him, it's a one hit, 13.2%. So his up tilt is Volcano Kick. This is actually very slow, but it does a lot of damage, like a smash attack. And what you can see here is it actually will draw you in. If you're at 4 squares worth of range, this kick will continue to, they will pull your target towards you. Now at 5 squares, it's not going to pull them in. It's just barely going to kind of hit them. So again, you can be 4.5, 4 squares, boom, and you can put out a lot of damage. You can see here at 28.8% per hit. Ganondorf's side tilt is this nice little boot kick right here. It's got 2 squares worth of range. Once again, it's not just where the boot ends, but it's where the little boot burst of energy ends. And you can see I'm just kind of slowly moving forward here. Once I get into the 2 squares, you can see I can actually hit them. And this is going to be around 15 to 16.8% damage with a direct hit. So talking about his dash though, so we did forward tilt, or side tilt essentially, and his dash ability is going to do 18%. So you get that a little speed boost. He's obviously not the fastest character in the game, but you do that shoulder charge for his dash attack. Ganon's down tilt is his foot kick. This is going to be 16.8% damage. You can see it's got quite the range just at 3 squares. And it's also going to launch your target up in the air a little bit. This is going to be great if you want to try to build off combos, especially as you put out more damage on them. The other thing about down tilt is this is one of Ganondorf's faster attacks. You can kind of see his other attacks a little bit slower, especially for the different abilities themselves and any kind of smash attack that you might do. So you're able to kind of get this off really quick, compared to your other attacks that you have. So now we're going to talk about Ganondorf's air attacks. We're going to cover his airs as a part of his specials here when we get into the special section of this video. So I'm just going to cover kind of the normal, neutral, tilt attacks, etc., his forward air, his back air, things like that. So just keep in mind that we're going to cover that just in a second. But as far as his normal neutral goes, it's got quite a bit of range. 2 squares, you get this double kick, which is a 22.8% damage. Now, obviously, you get that if you hit him twice. If you only get one hit off of him, it's going to be far less. And it's the second hit that ends up having the most damage and the launching power with it, and that's his normal neutral. And you can see here 2 squares worth of damage. It also has that kind of damage burst, so the animation is more the bursting off the foot rather than the actual tip of the foot as well. Ganon's up air is this back foot kick. Now what is really cool about this is it kind of also gets you a little boost up in the air just slightly. It's got 2 squares worth of range on the forward up kick. So you can see here at like 2.5, but at 2 squares you can see I can kind of hit him, easily putting out anywhere around 14 to more damage depending on how much you connect with him with the foot kick. Ganon's down air is this little foot kick here. Just boom! It's going to be anywhere from 20 to 2.8%, like for full contact damage. And I've seen it depending on how you connect with them, varying different different values. It's very powerful. It doesn't do much, but it can get him, especially as he's got some damage on him, throwing him to the ground, getting him to actually launch up in the air. So Ganondorf's forward air is Haymaker, or that's what I'm calling it. At least it looks like this giant swinging kind of meteor style punch. Connecting with them is at 20.4%. You can kind of get a lot of damage out there. It's got 2 squares worth of range as well. His back air is going to be at 20 to 22%. Depends on how you connect with them. It's kind of this little back-handed little smack as well. So boom! And it also has a lot of launching power. Alright, so let's talk about Ganondorf's smash moves. You have either up, down, side, and each of the smash moves obviously use his sword. So let's break down the percentages and obviously the range. So his up, it's got 2 squares forward worth of range. So if I'm right in this wheelhouse, you can see here I can pull this off. It's going to be anywhere from 35 to 40.3% depending on where you connect with the sword. It's also got 3.6 squares height based off of from the ground up to where Ganondorf's ultimate swing lands. This is great for enemies that are floating back down to earth. Just go ahead and try to make sure you land it. It's going to put out a lot of damage and can easily get that knockout for you in the ring. Ganondorf's side smash. This has got 3 squares worth of range. It's also going to do another 40.3% damage. This will easily launch them pretty far back. You can see here that from 0, he's knocked back 12 pretty much squares worth of range there. Ganondorf's down smash is really interesting because it's got a forward jab with the hilt of the sword, and then obviously you hit the sword in the back. So it's going to work on both sides. The back part is the most powerful piece of this move. So if I execute it, you can see I can get a 2-hit combo here for 33.6% damage. The front is going to end up being about 8.4%, while the back ends up being about 25.2% damage as far as it goes. So it hits on both sides. If you connect from the front, it will toss them to the back and blast them off, hopefully into the stratosphere. All right, so it's time to talk about Ganondorf's specials. As you can see here, Warlock Punch is his special neutral. In the air, if you're able to connect with it, this is going to require like a high platform. It's going to require the bunny hood to be able to try to execute this off in the air, but it is super powerful. Just on the base ground alone, you can see here it's got about 2.5 squares worth of range for its hit. If we go ahead and connect with it, see 36% damage here on Link. That's incredible. It's really easy. It's pretty quick comparative to some other moves. It doesn't take too long. You're not actually holding it up and charging it. It is just one execution of the move. And if you're able to pull that off in the air, you're going to get even more damage. Ganondorf's neutral special also has a special property if you're able to pull this off. Now, obviously just hitting the button is going to execute it, but if you hit the button and you press back during the same time, you're actually able to turn and get an even more powerful hit, which you can see here at 44.4% damage, which is huge. So Ganondorf's side special is a lunge forward and grab them ability, and if you're able to do it in the air, you're really going to slam them into the ground for 18.0% damage. On the base ground though, you're going to put them for 14.4% damage. This has got quite a little bit of range here for you as well. It's around 5 squares. You're going to be able to connect with them. Anything over 5 squares, you're just going to kind of whiff and miss. You're going to get close. So it's a good way to also kind of maybe close some gap a little bit, but you do have a little bit of vulnerability from executing the move. Same thing also applies when in the air. So if you can get that range, but you're not going to be able to recover and do like an up special at that point or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. It will cancel, it will leave you vulnerable, and that's just how it works. All right, Ganondorf's down special is Wizard's Foot. Used on the ground, you can see 19.2%, and it's going to lunge you forward. It's got quite the range on it. It's 6 squares worth of range to be able to hit and impact with your target. Now in the air, it's going to slam you right down to the ground. It's going to be this angle, and you can easily kind of get a lot of damage. It also has, the start of it has a meteor style effect, so it's going to help slam them into the ground. And if the fighter is just waiting on the ground, it's got 16.8% damage, which is a little different if you hit him in the air with it. So it's all about positionals. It's all about air-ground attacks with Ganondorf, and the percentage of damage is going to vary depending on whether they're on the ground, whether they're in the air, and where you're on the ground, or whether you're in the air as well. So keep that in mind when it comes to using any of these specials. Now Ganon's up special is Dark Dive. This is going to grab them and electrocute them, 19.9% damage. This is the same even if they're in the air, and you can see you grab them and it tosses you back. As far as recovery goes, with the double jump, you can easily get up to 10 squares worth of height. It basically acts as a +5 height from wherever you start your ascent. So now that we've covered all his specials, let's talk about recovering. So with the double jump, you can use your forward special to get 10 squares worth of horizontal distance. If you use a double jump and your up ability, you can get 10, 11 squares. I've even seen it depending on kind of your height and where you start, around 11.5 squares worth of recovery. Again, like I said, when you use your Warlock grab here, when you use your up special, it does leave you invulnerable. You're not going to be able to respond with an additional follow-up move at that point. So just keep that in mind. His recovery is what it is, 10 or 11 squares worth, depending on whether you use your side special or your up special, but you do have both at your disposal. Obviously, if you use down special, it's going to slam you back down to the ground. So if you're not over any kind of platform, you're going to go right into the hole. All right, so let's cover Ganondorf's grabs. So you have grab as down is at 8.4. Side at 15.6 with a little launching power. Back at 12%. And up at 15.6%. Obviously with the grab, you can put out a little damage before slamming them into the ground for even more damage altogether, but I'll leave it up to you on what to do. So for Ganondorf's final smash, he actually has a final smash that will go over the entire range of the level. I'm just going to go out here to 35 squares, execute it. It's going to put out 54% damage on Link here, and you can see that he rushes across. But he also has a first initial sword swipe, and that first initial sword swipe will get you a stun. So if I just get executed here, boom, it's going to stun any targets and blast them. Same kind of damage, but that stun is important to catch, more targets on, on the ground. Obviously you can see that he's going to go fire in a straight line. It's going to be several squares worth of height that he's going to hit and target. And that pretty much breaks it down. He's got a lot of range. He's got a lot of power. The Demon King Ganon is who he turns into with this final smash, but he still remains where he executed the move. So this is something that blasts out from him and goes from there. So have fun with this. Hopefully that is helpful. Hopefully this guide has been helpful. My name's Brian with Work to Game. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you're enjoying playing as Ganondorf, hopefully this helps whether you're playing against him or defending against him. Either way, I thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know who you want to see next, and we'll try our best to make sure we get all these characters covered with these one-on-one guides, talking about all the fun things about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But without further ado, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, week, month, and a stupendous new year. I'll talk to you next time. Take care. What's going on, Workforce? Chuck here. It's been a good long month, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. I just wanted to invite my friend Terry, the T-Rex from Texas, out here. Howdy, y'all. How's it going? This is a really fun end screen video. We should have written a script, right, Chuck? Oh, I agree totally. In fact, I think both our voices sound exactly the same. What are we to do? I don't know. I think we need to get a better voice actor. Yes, I agree. Which one of us is talking? Ah. They're still here. What are we gonna do? I guess we're gonna stop and record.